Okay, now that we have looked into the development of the child and understood development generally, it's time to zoom in and look a little more carefully at the individual child. Then we want to know learning styles. Understanding the learning style can be one of the most helpful things you do as a teacher. And the way we like to think about learning styles is, how do you remember information best? Information can be presented in many different forms, but in which way do you receive information that it goes into your long-term memory better than any other way? We're usually familiar with the three terms: visual, audible, or kinesthetic. Now, there are some places that will break them down even further. You can compare the logical versus the intuitive learner, or the social versus the solitary learner, but for right now, let's just start by looking at the first three. So your visual learner, he's going to retain information best that enters through the eyes. This doesn't mean that he can't learn through what he hears, or that he doesn't like to touch and experience things. It just means that his strongest sense is his vision. So this is his most important tool. Keep his eyes checked and make sure he can see well. The information that enters through his eyes is the most important to his learning. So how do you know if you have a visual learner? He's going to enjoy reading. He's going to like it a lot, and he's going to be able to tell back what he reads. His comprehension is going to be very good. He's going to use a lot of descriptive words for how things appear, how things look. You may probably notice that he remembers the names of stores and streets as if he has seen the sign. He sees it, he remembers it. So your student who is a visual learner, he's going to like his information color-coded. This will help him categorize things very easily. He's going to like mind maps. He'll be able to think through and process information with lots of doodles and drawing and things that he sees. So give him the opportunity to work within this, the way he's designed to work best. The auditory learner. So your auditory learner is going to, of course, rely on his sense of hearing. Once again, keep his hearing checked. Make sure he's hearing well. Watch out for ear infections. Make sure this is his strongest sense. Keep it healthy. Your auditory learner will enjoy talking a lot. This is the child that just won't shut up. And they are going to enjoy dialogue and conversation. They will remember lectures. They're going to do a whole lot more at oral presentations rather than written exams. They're going to enjoy studying a lot better than they are, or they're going to enjoy listening to lectures better than studying a book. It doesn't mean that they don't have to learn how to do these tasks. It just means that this is their strongest area. You can help them remember memorization by putting it to songs and ditties and rhymes. This will help them remember things a whole lot better. They will enjoy music a lot, but don't have music playing in the background while the child is trying to study. That's a real big distraction to a child who's an audible learner. Even the sound of a fan going in the background that you might not even notice is going to be a distraction to the audible learner. And if you have background music, it's going to be competing with what he's trying to do. He wants very much to concentrate on everything that he's hearing. So try to give him that stillness that he needs to be able to listen to one thing at a time for memorization. Can't miss the kinesthetic learner. Nope, you walk through a store with a kinesthetic learner and his hand is out, touching everything that he passes. He's going to slip off the couch and pop back up. He's going to wander into the next room and come right back, all while trying to tell you what he wants for breakfast. There's nothing wrong with this child. He's learning. Let him learn. Let him touch. Let him feel. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have to learn to sit at the dinner table and stay there through the meal. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have to learn to sit and be still during church. But it does mean that if you want him to learn information, let him go out and touch it and experience it. Don't force him to sit at a desk to do his best learning. Put Play-Doh in his hands. Put manipulatives in his hands. Let him go out. These are the children who grow up to become the doers. So give them the freedom to do and to become competent doers. The logical versus intuitive learner. This one, it's not the first basic three that we started with, but it is one of those distinctions that's very helpful, especially when you're teaching a subject that may be counterintuitive, like English spelling. English spelling doesn't make sense, and it will really frustrate the logical learner. And it could become a dramatic conflict if you don't get out ahead of it. You know you have a logical learner who needs a reason for everything. He needs to know why everything is the way it is. So the rule breakers need explanations. Tell him that it's spelled differently. It breaks the rule because it comes from a different root language. Or there is a rule to English spelling that we do double the F, the S, and the L at the end of root words. So it's not random that we're just doubling these consonants at the end of some words. There's a rule. And then there are those rules that there really isn't any sense to it. And just tell him, this one is not logical. And don't try to remember it. Just remember that this one breaks the rules. And you'll help him a lot, and you'll gain credibility as a teacher because he won't be thinking that you don't know what you're talking about. You keep giving him all these rules and then all these rule breakers. So that's why you need to know if your child is logical or intuitive. If the child is intuitive, you're going to tell him the THE says the, not the, and he will just accept that. Not the logical learner. Now remember that very few of us are just one kind of person that fits very neatly into a box. Very often you'll see sort of a mix of these learning styles. You can have an audible social learner. You can have a kinesthetic solitary learner. You can mix these up in some very interesting ways. And also, depending on the stage of development that a child is going through, it could mask their true personality, their true nature. They might be going through a very social stage of development, but really they're going to settle back into who they are individually and be more solitary. So the younger a child is, the more difficult it's going to be to really understand who the child is. But depending on how well you can observe this, it will make choosing your tools, your educational tools, a lot easier. Why is it important to know the difference between your child's learning styles? Well, there are a lot of reasons. As with many things about a child, it's more difficult the younger the child is to understand what their style is, what their personality is, what their preferences are, because their stages of development are changing so rapidly that it's hard to pin down exactly what is true, what they're going to settle in their personality. But you can begin observing right away, and you can begin seeing the things that they gravitate toward, the things they really enjoy the most. And the reason this is important to know this about it, let's take a first grade speller as an example. Okay, how am I going to teach this child how to spell? It does not matter if you're using the classical method, the Montessori method, an online resource, whatever you are using, whatever philosophical approach to education. You still have to tweak that and make sure it addresses the child's learning style. So here we are working with a first grade speller, and this child might be a kinesthetic learner. So here's one tool that we could use. This is a card game. It's a really old card game, but it's a family favorite. It's called the phonics game. This was really popular in the 1990s, I believe, and I ordered it off of eBay because you can't get it anymore. They don't produce it anymore. And when it arrived, it actually came with these big cassette tapes, or VHS tapes, and audio tapes to listen to the instructions. Well, we didn't need to listen to the instructions. We just were playing the card games. And these cards games have different phonics rules, and then they have lists of spelling words, and you trade the spelling words that are in the same rule family. And it's a lot of fun. And it's a kinesthetic way for a child to experience lining up all of the similar rule patterns and the spelling words that are in the same family. And it's a really good way also for the older student to play a more simple game with the younger student and give the older student a chance to teach the younger student, and also do a little bit of basic review when you think that a little remedial work is necessary for an older child. It's kind of a sneaky way to get that remedial work in. So this is a great kinesthetic tool, and there are many of them out there that do this. You might have identified that your child is a visual learner. What they see with their eyes goes in an image into their head, and that image, they can recall it and see that image in their memory and be able to spell it. Well, for them, there's this really great tool here. These are flashcards. A friend of mine gave these to me, I was so thankful for. These come from childfirst.com. Now, they take words and make pictures out of them, because the child is going to see the whole word as a picture. You have the U is filled up with water, and it's a little trick for remembering how to spell that word there. If you know your child is a visual learner, you have the opportunity to be able to give him this gift of making spelling easier. But if your child is an audible learner, this isn't going to help him at all. This is going to frustrate him. What is this? In fact, I, being an audible learner, the first time I saw one of these words, a friend was showing a word to me, and she was explaining how it worked, and I was looking very confused at it, and after a few minutes I said, oh, there's a word in that picture? I had not been able to see the word past the picture because I'm not a visual learner, and it didn't make any sense to me. You would frustrate your child if you were trying to use this tool and it didn't meet his learning style. An audible learner is going to like to recite words. They're logical. You can break the words into syllables like this, and you can just say it, read it back, repeat it, sing songs about it. Lists of words are going to do great for that child. And you can also find resources out there. This is all about spelling, and it's one that I use, and it combines all the different learning styles to teach each lesson. So no matter which learning style your child has, they're going to benefit from this curriculum, and there are others that do this. I have a wonderful book. I should have pulled it out here to show you. It's called The ABCs and All Their Tricks, and it's for the logical learner. It's a compendium of all of the English language rules, why they are spelled in the quirky way. Why do you double the F and the S and the L at the end of root words? And there are actually rules to this, and it helps the logical learner. Oh, you didn't put just a random S at the end of the word kiss for no reason. There's a reason for that to be there. Okay, it makes sense now. And now you've gained credibility in that student's sight because you showed them that you weren't being random. There is actually a reason for that. This is just spelling, but the same is true with every subject and at every level. A child is always going to benefit from putting an object in their hand. It might seem like every child is a little bit of a kinesthetic learner. Every child is going to benefit from having a conversation. Every child is going to benefit from having to copy it out longhand. But you will notice when a child is benefiting most from one approach or another. And if you run into a problem in a particular subject, you will know exactly where to go to help get you over that hurdle. And let me give you an example of that. So I want to give you an example of what I did for my first grade student who was struggling with the abstract concept of subtraction and borrowing. I pulled out this beautiful Montessori work. Now, Montessori is near and dear to my heart, and one of the reasons you can see why is just how beautiful this work is and how appealing it is. Everything, it feels good, it's real wood, it's all beautiful, and everything that is Montessori material is like this, but that's beside the point. So, we have a math problem here. We have 23 minus 15. And my first grader just couldn't get it. He's a kinesthetic learner. He was looking at the problem on the page and he was so frustrated with the idea, why in the world would we cross out a number over here and add numbers over here? It didn't make any sense to him. So I had him spend several months working with just this material over and over again. And what he's going to do is he's going to say the tens place, we have 2 tens and that represents 20. We have 3 units and that represents 3. So together we have 23. If I want to take 5 away from 3, well, we can't do that. So we have to borrow 1 from the 10. We have to put the 10 back. That's the same as crossing it out on the paper. And we have to pull out 10 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. Now he can see that he took 10 away. He has to put 10 back. And now he can take away 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what's your answer? 2, 4, 6, 8. 18. 18 will be your answer. So he had the opportunity to physically, with his own hands, experience borrowing over and over and over again. The tears stopped. The resistance to learning stopped. He got over this hurdle. And this kid, who you might think was not going to be your math mind, your abstract thinker, became the best. He could computate math problems in his head better than any other child that I have. That was the trick that it took to help him get over his resistance to learning subtraction and borrowing. The tears stopped. Once we took this concept that was difficult for him to grasp, and we just took away all the excess noise and all of the things, the approaches to learning that weren't his best. And we studied this, and his best learning style for him, he got it. And we moved on. The general idea here is this principle of understanding a child's learning style will help you in every single subject. You learn the way they learn, and you're going to save yourself, I promise you, thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars for buying curricula that doesn't work, trying this tool that doesn't work, or frustration. Your child might be wonderful at mathematics, but you are approaching it in the wrong way for him, and he's going to burn out, he's going to get frustrated, he's going to tell himself, I hate math. He doesn't hate math. He just hates the way it was being presented. It wasn't working. So you match the tool to the child, and you are once again going to infuse your homeschool with more peace and more rest, less frustration. You're going to stay within your budget. Take the time. Even if you're not sure of their learning style, take your best guess, try a few things over the next couple of weeks, see what they gravitate toward, observe that, and let them continue to reveal this to you throughout their childhood.